Okay, I'm going to talk in three sections today. I want to talk about um, the property generating revenues in the property. I'm going to talk about the role of the asset manager, and then I'm going to talk about some of the contract issues when all hell breaks loose. So, the topic today is what happens, when your multifamily property runs out of cash. And it is a business, and with any business, if it's out of cash, it's out of business. And as the owner operator, it's so important that you plan and you do cash analysis. What's your cash flow analysis lets you understand where your money's coming from, how the bills are getting paid. You really have to be on top of that part of the business. And this was really, and we'll talk more about it in a moment, but that's really what the asset manager is, not the controller or the comptroller. He is really the chief financial officer. Uh, but starting from the base level, you need to do a full cash flow analysis on your property and see how your income and your expenses are running. You must always be looking at ways to maximize your revenue. And you must always be looking at ways to minimize your expenses. You would in any other business, you must do it in multifamily as well. And talking about maximizing your revenue, obviously your marketing has to be up to speed. You've got to increase the occupancy at all times. Keep people in. Reward your salespeople. Reward your leasing manager by giving them more of a bonus to renew people than to bring in new tenants. Some people think that sounds backwards. It isn't. When you understand how much you can possibly lose through turnover, you want people to stay longer. So you want your leasing person to really build up a nice book of business, so to speak, just like it would be in any other business, a big book of business that they can make additional revenue by just renewing their current people. Then adding other forms of revenue. Always look to see the rent. You have to look at the revenue in your business as two categories. You have rental income and all that comes with it, and then you have other income and all that comes with that. So, you want to build your business on good other income. NSF check fees, that's not good income. Late fees, that's not good income. So you always want to make sure that you're focusing on the good income. Storage, parking spaces. If you've got outside vendors like the laundry or cable, all of those ways are ways to generate more revenue for your property. And also, charging for premium units or figuring out based upon the stock that you have in the property. Like, I had a property once that we had. It was actually it was phase one and phase two, and some of the 2-bedroom units were different in phase one than they were in phase two. And we looked at it, and we had sold out all of the 2-bedroom units in phase one, but we could not sell out the phase two 2-bedroom units. We couldn't make them work. And we sat back and we looked at it and said, why? What's the problem? What's wrong with these? Well, the problem was that the second bedroom was so small, nobody wanted it unless you pre-packaged it and packaged it differently and marketed it as 1 bedrooms with a den. Boom, sold out. So make sure you understand what your market's looking for. Make sure you understand your product and where you can trade on it, trade on the benefits of that particular property. Now, let's talk about expenses. Vacancy is an expense, and you've got to minimize that vacancy as best you can. Delinquency, collections, bad debt. You've got to teach your customers on day one who's boss and how they need to operate. That means that if the rent isn't paid by the first, it's late on the second, and it's actionable on the fifth. one time I had this one property where we were having a serious problem with collections, and we decided we're going to get tough. And what we did was on day 5, if they had not paid us, we would go around to every door that was late. Bump, 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 bump. Rent's due. No answer. Red sign. Pay your rent on everyone's door. Boy, did we get the collections come in right away. And boy, did we get an earful. But we started to teach people that if you don't pay by the 5th, we're putting that red sign on your door. Those types of things to really handle the collections. Also, and this is one that hey, listen, I have been asked for the 3rd time by the mayor of my city to be on the board of assessors. First time was 30 years ago, and I said yes. And I was on the board for, under his watch for maybe 5 years or so. And then the second time was about 5 years ago when I moved back into Nashua, and I said, hey, he comes up to me and he says, hey, welcome back to Nashua. You want to be on the board of assessors? Now, I don't read the local newspaper, but I had heard that there was big goings on with the assessor's office. Like it was a S show. And I didn't want to get involved in that. I said, no, listen, I'm not that guy 30 years ago. Give me something easy. Put me on the airport commission. Let me be on the airport commission. Come on. He goes, all right, no, okay, thanks, bye. Boom. As soon as I told him I wasn't going to be on the board of assessors, he couldn't get off the phone fast enough. Finally, a year ago, or not even a year ago, so a few months ago, he calls me up. He says, hey, will you do it? I really need you to be on it. We got a huge backlog of commercial properties. You'd be great for it. And I said, all right, fine. I'll do it. So I'm waiting to get sworn in. But listen, there's a huge backlog in the assessor's office in front of the board of assessors for commercial properties. Individual residential homes, no big deal. We take care of those right away. Commercial, it's a different story. We get backed up at the assessor's office because all the property owners who run it like a business challenge the valuation every single year. That's just what you do. Because if you can save money on your taxes, it increases the value of your property immensely. So you've always got to be looking at those types of expenses where you can drive the numbers. All right. So once you've got this property humming, then you got to watch the cash. You always have to hold on to the cash. And that goes into the next part of my discussion, which is the asset manager. And what I want to talk to you here about distributions. Now, one of the biggest problems I made early on in my career was paying distributions to my investors when I shouldn't have, when I should have been hoarding cash. Remember, you're in charge of this LLC. And if you're coming up against a tight cash flow or you're anticipating a big expense, you have every right in the book not to distribute any membership interest, any membership distributions. Hoard your cash, because the alternative is to have a cash call from your investors, and you don't want to do that. So that's the type of thing that you need to really analyze how your cash flow is going, and then make the decision, to whether to make a distribution or not. Make sure you've got reserves. Listen, the people who are investing in your business should understand that. They should understand that, hey, what's more important is that this investment survives and does well than me receiving my meager 9% distribution. So those are the best types of investors that you can get into your deal, the ones that understand that most important is that we don't need to have a cash call for this business, that we can run with the property generating enough cash to begin with. So that goes into what the job of the asset manager really is. Now, the asset manager, he looks at what's going on today, and he projects it out to where he needs to be X number of years later. So when an asset manager is given a task, now, if you've got a big partnership and there's one person whose sole responsibility is to run it as an asset, is to be the asset manager, good for you. If you're the only guy in town, okay, you are the asset manager. And just to give you a perfect example, I had clients of mine I spoke to today, a husband and wife team, and they're talking about buying this one particular property. And right away, as I've trained them, we have to think about, two questions when you're buying a property. How am I going to get the deal financed, and what's my exit strategy? And right away, they started thinking about the exit strategy and what they would need to do today to get that property to meet the numbers so that they can exit the property at some point in the future. That's how an asset manager thinks. So the asset manager knows, for instance, a deal that we have going on right now. If we can pay the investors a 20% annual average return at the time of a capital event, then we have the right of buying them out, putting them in the next deal, and then we will own the asset entirely. So with that in mind, the asset manager goes to work and says, okay, in the 24th month, we will need to have distributed X number of dollars in order to give everybody a 20% return so that we can turn around and return their capital, return the 20% average annual return, and then we can own that property. So he knows what chunk of change we need to accumulate in order for that to happen. And then he backs into that number all the way down to where we are today and what that property needs to generate and set aside every month for the next 24 months so that we can own that property. That's the asset manager's responsibility, is to watch that cash and make sure we're overseeing the property to achieve that particular result. Okay, when all else fails, this is where it starts to get a little wonky. Okay, so, and this is the legal part of this conversation, because there's stuff that in the contracts that you sign that you need to understand. Let's say the property is not doing that well. You're going to be in conversation with your bank on a 30, 60, 90-day basis. Every 30, 60, 90 days, you're going to be speaking with your commercial lender. That's just the way commercial loans work. It's not like a residential mortgage. It's, when you talk about due on sale clauses or, any type of second, wraps, wrap mortgages, that's fine, all well and good on the residential side. On the commercial side, you can never get away with that, because that banker comes to see you every 30, 60, 90 days, and they'll look and say, like, wait a minute, who are you? I don't know who you are. I gave the loan to John Smith, and you're Charles Dobens. Yeah, I know. I took it over subject to the existing mortgage. Oh, no. You can't do that. You're out. We're foreclosing. That's how it works with a commercial loan. They know what's going on in your business every 30 or 60, 90 days. And if they catch wind that things aren't being run correctly, or that you're really struggling, or that, you come to them and you say, hey, is there any way we can not make the mortgage payment this month? That, whenever you say something like that to a bank, red flag. It's a red flag. That's when they will move so fast, you won't even know what hit you. And what they're going to do, like, say, for instance, if it's an all bills paid property. Let's say it's an all bills paid property and you can't pay the utilities this month. So you call the bank and say, hey, listen, we're cash strapped. Can we hold off on paying the mortgage? We have to pay the utilities this month. They will run down to the courthouse with their outside counsel and have an emergency receivership hearing and seize the property back from you the next day. That's how some of these lenders work, both either government sponsored or a local bank. And they'll be there at the courthouse with their third-party property manager. They will implement the lockbox system. They'll send out notifications to all your tenants that you no longer pay the people in the management office. You now come down to this branch and you put your money into that account. So that is how it can happen if your company starts running out of cash. All right. And they will, if you start saying things, like for instance, if you do that and you don't pay those utilities, and this is where it really gets convoluted, you can be charged with violating one of the bad boy carve outs, and they can turn that loan into a recourse loan. That's why you've got to be very careful when your business is running low on cash. And here's the other thing too. Don't think for a second that filing bankruptcy is a solution in this particular case. It is not a solution. It's actually a way to trigger the bad boy provisions. And the way it can trigger the bad boy provisions, and folks, this is something you absolutely have to understand, is that if there are 6 key principals or 6 GPs, 6 people that signed on the mortgage, let's say, and one of them files bankruptcy, that means that all of them are now at risk for personal recourse of that loan. You don't see this in the documents. What you do see is, if you did a Google search, you'd see a lot of court cases where they tried that exact provision. And there was one particular court case, I don't have the name of it, I was reading it earlier today, where one person, you know what it was? This is how the court case worked. So there were about 4 partners. One of them filed bankruptcy, personal bankruptcy. That triggered the bad boy provision against the other 3 owners, and now they were subject to personal recourse because that one guy. And they were trying to say, hey, you shouldn't have done that. Had you not done that, we would be safe. And so the 3 other partners decided to sue his lawyer for advising him to file bankruptcy. And that was the situation in that particular case. They lost. The lawyers, the court came back and said, hey, he's a lawyer who's giving him great legal advice for the situation. You're not his client. No, but we're all clients together in this deal. No. I was advising him on the personal level so that he could keep his house and have a place for his family to stay. You're not my client. I didn't have to think about what your needs were. So that's how they determine that case. But that's what happens. So when a multifamily property runs out of cash, you got to first try to stem the tide and stop the bleeding. Do everything you possibly can. Anticipate what you can do and fix the problems as best you can. And don't have those conversations with your bank, unless you absolutely have to, that you got problems, because they will move so fast to take over that asset and you're out. Trying to get back in there is virtually impossible. So I've seen, when I hear about one of these multifamily deals going south, if you read therealdeal.com, you read a lot about these types of properties going south, especially right now. And I know what it's like. I've been there, guys. Back in 2008, I was that guy in the emergency receivership hearings. It was tough. And I my heart breaks for these people. I don't want to see anybody go through that, but that's what happens. And if any of you are having this type of problem, if you're in a situation like this and you want to get some advice, I won't be your lawyer. I won't represent you, but just reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to talk to you about what your options are. And I'm gonna close with a Groucho Marx joke. I was just to say with a Karl Marx joke. But they're all trying to get their fingers into you, and you just have to keep that fence up to keep them out. And the easiest way to do that is to maintain your cash. Always remember, cash is king, and that's the best way to run your business. So, all right, I'm going to close it with this this Groucho Marx joke. This is a true joke. You can Google it on YouTube, and you can see it. For those of you who didn't know, Groucho Marx had a TV show, You Bet Your Life. And he would interview people. And one show, he had a man and a woman up that were not related. And he'd just have two people out of the audience, and he'd just be interviewing them, asking the questions. And just, he's such a funny man. He could make a show out of it. And he had this one man up, and he says, "So, are you married?" "Yeah, I'm married." "You have any kids?" "Yeah, I got 7 kids." 7 kids? Holy cow. And the guy says, "Yeah, Groucho, I love my wife." Groucho says, "I love my cigar, but I take it out every once in a while." And it got past the 1950s censors, and it's been one of the most famous comedy lines in television history. Google it, and you can see it. All right, everybody, great to see you all. I am out.